live. I have not done a YouTube live before. I've done lives on other platforms for uh, other topics, but first time going live. We're going to give this a try and see how it works. And if it works well, we'll keep doing it. But I figured something a little different. I'm here. I'm going to go ahead and walk around and just show some of the plants that I grow here, Seattle. I'm just south of Seattle, Zone 8A. All my plants are tropical or tropical feeling. I do mix in as many local things as I can when I can, but you're going to see a lot of palm trees and a lot of banana plants of different varieties as we walk around the yard, and a lot of lilies. I'm a fan of lilies, so lots of different varieties of lilies in the yard. So I'm gonna go my typical route here and see if I can get the stupid gimbal to cooperate. Let me flip this around. We'll start over here in the back corner. We've got the chief inspector out inspecting. These are blue Java banana plants. I put them in pots this year. I had planned on putting them in the ground. I had put some in the ground last year and they did not survive the winter. So I hesitated to throw these in the ground just because I didn't want to have them die again and wasn't sure exactly what I would do differently. So they ended up in pots. I'm going to keep them inside for now over the winter. I'll probably decide at some point in the future to put them back in the ground somewhere. But this is the blue Java banana, also called ice cream banana. They are edible. All bananas are edible, but they taste good. You'd want to eat them. And here they are. So haven't gotten actual fruit off of this variety yet, but hopefully in the next year or two I'll be able to get some of those. So moving on, we've got two plants here. This first plant is a Puerto Rican hat palm, and I'm just, did that kick me off? First live, so trying to figure out some of the functionality and what it does on YouTube, how it all works. But this first one here, this is a Puerto Rican hat palm. It didn't grow much this year, I think because it's in a shady spot. This is south on the other side of this fence. So with this ginormous maple tree here, this area doesn't get a whole lot of sun. So the Puerto Rican hat palm didn't really grow. It's got a new little baby there, new little baby frond popping out. So it is doing okay, but just not a lot of growth here. I'll put it in more sun next year. And then behind that, we've got a Heliconia lobster claw, looking a little bit better. I burned this thing really bad when I got it, and it's come back pretty well. It's still pushing out some new growth for the year, which is good. And if I don't burn it next summer, we should get a pretty good sized plant by the time that's over. We'll move along. We've got over here, this is another blue Java or ice cream banana, smaller one. Same story as the others. Nothing different to add related to that one. Let's see. Just messing with the chat settings here. I'll make sure I can see everything. Got it. Thanks, YouTube. Moving along, we've got a pyramid of palms over here. First, this one is my oldest pindo palm and my largest. So, I mean, it's obviously, this is a big pot. It's like 2.5 feet tall. But then the pindo itself is another 3.5 feet or so. It's about 6 feet to the top there. So good size. I've had this for 5 years, and it's done really well. It lives outside almost all the time. When it was smaller, I did bring it in to the house on really cold days, really cold nights in the winter. But for the most part, this thing has lived outside 99% of its life here in Seattle. Does fine in the rain and the wet. You can see one of the things that I do to help with all of our rain is there's a lot of perlite in here. Lots of weeds too, but or grass, but lots of perlite in the soil, so that in the winter time that drains pretty quickly. That means I have to water it a little bit more in the summers. All of my plants are on drip lines, but they do fine. Most of them do fine all winter long with no issues being outside. Then the other two palms over here, these are both mule palms. These are the ones that lost their spears. They've come back pretty nicely. Both of these had spear pulled this winter, and as you can see, there's lots of new growth there. They've both pushed out a complete frond, and both are pushing out a second frond there. The other one looks very similar. I'll walk around and show you that one. So it looks very similar, and got some good new growth out of that. So they survived, both of them. The spear pull, don't let anybody ever tell you just because a palm spear pulls that it's dead. Both of these 100% pulled out and ultimately came back. You can still see the other ones like this too. You can still see one of the fronds that came out with nothing, and then there's a super gimpy one right here that came out with just a little bit, and then a full one, and then a new one pushing out. Okay, so moving along, this little pot here, this is scabbard bamboo. I just wanted something in this pot. I've tried different things in this spot. I used to have Musa Bastru in a pot right here, and it did okay. The bamboo is just, I need to clean out. There's a couple of dead shoots in there, but something green over in this corner, always good to have. Then we come around to the bananas. Now these are lighter than they normally are because I came and cleaned out about half of them. They were some of them that got diseased, and I came out a couple weeks back and had to take about half of them away, including all of the tallest ones. So the ones that are here, this one that fruited here, that's about 14 feet tall. I had one that was, I had two that were maybe 16 feet. They were closer to the height of that bamboo in the back. So 16, 17 feet tall. Underneath here we have this hidden hydrangea. A lot of times I forget about this because it gets covered by the banana plants, but it's a cool little plant back there. And then you can see in here lots of pups, lots of little babies, and I remove babies all summer, so this is a fraction of what I actually get. I planted this over here this year as well, this Enset, and it's been buried, so it hasn't gotten a ton of sun. But since I cut some of the Musa Bastru's back, it's gotten a little more sun. I mean, it's grown to a pretty good size. I'm still unsure if I'm going to and keep this in the ground, or if I'm going to cut this out or not cut it out, but dig it out and either store it dormant or put it in a pot for the winter. I'd hate for it to die at this point because it's actually pretty tall and will be solid next year if it's still alive. So I might dig it up and stick it in the house, but we'll see. I want to leave one in the ground too. So more bananas. You can see a few of these are some of the ones that I cut a couple weeks ago that were diseased. They've actually continued to grow. That was one I cut. This one has grown a lot. This one back here, I cut this one and it's grown like 3 feet since I cut it. And that was, I think it was 3 weeks ago. So they keep going. All the ones I cut, some of them have not grown very much of the diseased group. There's, well, this one right here in the front. This was one of the bigger ones too. You can see it's only grown about a foot compared to this one back here that's grown closer to 3 feet. We have here, this is, I showed this at the beginning of the year. I had a banana. Let's see if I can get a good shot here. One of them fruited. It's got no leaves. It never grew any leaves coming out of winter hibernation and just went straight to fruit. As you can see, it's pretty anemic looking when you compare it to one that has had leaves and has properly developed. That one looks much better compared to this thing, but it's still, I mean, it made some bananas and flowered, did its thing. I mean, it's pretty much done now, but interesting perspective. It just goes to show that the time the plant has actually been in the ground, the number of leaves it has, the size that it is, those things don't actually matter. When it's ready to fruit, it's going to fruit, and that's it. Moving along, here's another one that got cut in the disease culling. You can see it, I mean, it doesn't look good still. I might come cut that back off, but I mean, being that we're close to the end, I haven't been overly concerned by it. You can see here's another one that in the last couple of days, this is not okay. See the spotting on the leaves and the dark on the trunk. So after I'm done, I'll come back and cut that one down. I'll probably cut this one again, and I will respray with the fungicide. But that's the main group of bananas. Behind the bananas, we keep koi bamboo, and this is really just for some added privacy in the winter when the bananas are not full. The bamboo back here allows us to keep green. This is evergreen and very cold hardy, so we like having that back here, and it's about 18 feet tall. The tallest piece is up there. Other stuff over here, we've got strawberries, we've got the poor pirate ship that doesn't float anymore. That was the chlorine holder for the pool. I just kind of threw it in there as a yard decoration. But we've got strawberries, we've got some, these are lilies of the Nile. They're done, they're purple flowers when they flower. I just put those in this year. And then this is a pineapple lily. I had a couple of these. There's another one there. There's another one back there. They didn't actually flower this year. Now, I left these in the ground, which everybody tells you not to do around me. They did grow back, but these over here, I have some in the front that flowered, but these in the back did not flower. So I will probably pull those next year if they do not flower again. I'll give them one more chance. If they don't flower again, those will come out. Another plant that didn't do so well for me this year is the orange hot lava. I put it in the ground this year. It's been in a pot, and it's done pretty well in a pot. But I put it in the ground at the beginning of summer, and it hasn't really grown much. Just kind of sitting here and lost some of the leaves. just because the spot I put it in is full sun. But usually this thing is full of flowers, and these are some of my favorite flowers. These are super cool looking. So we'll see. Hopefully it's just a transplant issue and it'll be fine later on, but I'll just buy another one if it doesn't do well. Moving along, I'll show you this first and then come back to it in a minute, but I don't know how well the audio is. That's a train. So I do live pretty close to some railroad tracks that are a couple of streets away. So every now and then we get a train rolling through, which is why I often don't record live audio with my videos, because it's just a noisy environment back here. But this is Trachycarpus fortunei. It's about 12 feet tall. This one I put in the ground, it was about 4 feet tall at the beginning of 2020. So it was, the fronds were shorter than the fence 3.5 years ago. I brought this home in the back of a CRV, so it gives you some indication over 3 years to go from back of a CRV to this giant thing. It's about, I'm a little bit lower than the base of the tree, but that's about 8-9 feet of trunk. So that's a good size, and it's flowered twice now. So this is the second year. I don't always trim stuff off. So you can see where the seeds were there. Down below, this is a sable minor. Now this thing was a lot bigger when I put it in the ground last year, and it died almost completely back over the winter. No protection for it, and it didn't like it. So it's good to see that it's grown. I mean, all of that growth is new. The only thing that was here at the start of the spring was about like that. It looked like that. So this part is all new, and then it's got another frond that it's pushed out there. So it has survived, but it's seen better days. Now this is my other sable minor that I left in a pot. You can see it's much bigger. The other one was the same size as this one when I put it in the ground. So I will continue to leave this one in a pot, and we'll continue to compare in the ground versus in the pot. How do the sizes look and change? A couple other things behind here that don't always get highlighted. I've got spider. Hello, spider. This is a bird of paradise. I've actually got two of them. They were bought as one plant. This was one of the things I bought at Home Depot on clearance at the end of last year. There were two plants in the pot, so it was like $20 for both of them, which is a pretty good price around me. They've been sitting back here because this area is mostly shaded. So when I divided the two plants earlier this summer and just wanted them to stay outside, but also not get much in the way of direct sun until they had a chance to recover from their division. So this one's put out a new leaf. This is a brand new leaf, and then the other one back there is trying. It's still struggling, but we'll see what that does. These next group is the elephant ears. They got to a good size this year. Now I leave my elephant ears here in the ground. In the back, this is another thing that around here, because we get so much rain for so long in the winter, most people will take the elephant ear bulbs out of the ground. I left mine in. And you can see they've done really well here. I should probably thin some of them out next year. There's a lot of little ones in here that didn't actually do much. So at some point here, I'll count how many big ones I have and then go closer to that next year for plants that I actually let grow. And then I'll move the other ones to different spots in the yard. In the back, this is the only place that I have elephant ears currently. One thing that helps, this is science by Brian. One thing that helps these, I believe, is the cedar tree. So there is no water that hits this spot in the winter. This stays bone dry under the cedar tree because of the needles and the protection that it provides. So I believe that helps them. The cold is not an issue for a lot of plants where I am. It's the wet that is an issue. Continuing on, nothing too crazy over here. Some banana plants, I'll talk about those a bit later. I've got others that are the same, but a couple of native ferns, and then a pink spike. This is the first time this flowered. I put these in 3 years ago, and this just flowered for me this year, so that's exciting. I'm gonna see, I don't know if I have viable seeds off of this thing, but I'll see if I can get some seeds and try and make some more of those things. We've got the iconic pineapple plant. Have to have one of those for a tropical yard. So that is going. I ended up buying this one. I've tried to grow them from the tops and every time it fails for me. So this one I found at Home Depot. It was like $20. And so I just bought that already made. Then next to that, this is a torch lily, kind of a big blob at this point. Behind it you've got, this is more scabrida bamboo. This type of bamboo, what I like about it is it's got dark red sheathing on the shoots. So this eventually falls off, and then you just get plainer brownish looking shoots, but while it's growing you get this kind of red orange sheathing on it, which looks kind of cool. So it's needing to be raised up and straightened out, but it's been a good bamboo for me so far. So back to this. So this is a torch lily. You can see one of the old torches on it. I mean, mostly done for the year, so probably all the way done for the year at this point. We won't get any more flowers out of that, but one of my favorite flowers. There's a lot of these around here, so it's good as a grass, and then the flowers are pretty cool when they come out. And so I've got, this is one of 3 different varieties of torch lilies that I have in the yard. Let me talk about these bananas. So these are some more bananas. This is why I like to go to big box stores. So I'll pull this thing out. If I can find the label here. So this was sold as an Abyssinian banana. This is not an Abyssinian banana. This is actually a dwarf Cavendish banana. And if you look, there's like 6 of them in here. I mean, so I haven't trimmed it up, but there's 6 plants or so in there. So I bought this for $40. There's 6 dwarf Cavendish banana plants in it, which if I was to buy these, I'd have to buy them online. You're paying, anywhere between $30 and $50 a plant to order these online. So I bought all of them that they had. Just not sure what I'm going to do with all of them, but I can experiment with some. I do want to try and divide the corm on these and see if I can get some propagation going that way. But yeah, so it's, when you know what you're looking at, big box stores can be a great place to find deals, because my experience has been that plants are often mislabeled. And then they had these little ones too, same thing. These are dwarf Cavendish, labeled as a canna lily for $9. And this one has four little plants in it for $9. So yeah, I bought those when they were available. So check your big box stores, look at the labels, and don't ever assume that the label's right. They don't know. Especially when you get into the more rare stuff. They don't know what they have often. Moving along, this is another hydrangea. This is I forget the exact name of it. I'd have to go back in my notes. It's like a fire and ice, I think, is what it's called. But the flowers stay on this thing forever. It's a little bit rough because this was also a Home Depot purchase, and then transplanting it in the middle of the summer to this spot made some issues. But this variety of hydrangea starts off with white flowers. When these flowers came out, when I bought the plant, these were completely white, and then over time they turn pink and then ultimately red, and they're supposed to have flowers for 8-9 months out of the year, something like that. So my wife likes hydrangeas, the CEO, so always gotta buy stuff to make her happy, so she doesn't get too upset about the other stuff that I buy. Just a Trachycarpus fortunei in a pot over here, and then we've got some lavender. This was originally 2 plants. It's kind of gangly after this year, so I need to trim it back some and clean that up a little bit. And then there's just a hodgepodge of stuff back here in the ground and in pots. There's some Lenten roses. There's these are calla lilies right here. These were here when I moved in. It's one of the few things that's left in the yard is the calla lilies. There's some primrose in here, and then you'll see there's a bunch of little of various sizes, from tiny to small, Trachycarpus fortunei palm trees in different pots. These 2 bananas in the front here, these are Manzano bananas. Manzano is a smaller type of banana. They're very popular in spots in the Caribbean. I used to live in Puerto Rico, and these were always the bananas that I would look to buy, primarily from the street vendors. You have guys that, I mean, I don't know if it's still like this. It's been a long time since I've been there or lived there, but you'd have guys that would drive around with the truck, and the back of the truck is just full of fruits and vegetables, kind of like an ice cream truck, but they're selling bananas and avocados and whatnot. And I'd always look for the Manzano. So these will definitely have to come in for the winter, not hardy at all, but they're pretty healthy at this point. They've got pups, which is always a good sign. I don't know that this one has any, but yeah, this guy's got a couple little babies shooting off there. So if your banana's shooting off babies, it's pretty happy. So continuing to come around here, we've got another new banana that I just kind of threw back in here for now. This will go inside, but these are Musa Namwa. They're supposed to be pretty hardy. I want them to get bigger before I try and put them in the ground, but we've got these in pots back here. These 4 will go inside for the winter, and we'll let them get some size on them before we try and decide where we want to put them permanently. We've got the behind the hot tub storage area, so I do store stuff back here because it's mostly hidden. But we've got another Trachycarpus fortunei in the ground. This one I put in this year, and it's doing pretty well. And then I added this pot back here. So these are Musa Basju bananas. pretty big pot, but I didn't want to stick them in the ground just because this is right on the neighbor's fence here, and I don't want to deal with them potentially growing under the fence and on the neighbor's side. So they get a giant pot. We'll see how they do. I have grown them in pots before and they do okay, although they don't get as large. But these are happy so far. These are ones that I just dug out of the ground earlier in the year. And then on the other side we have another, might have to walk around. We have another Trachycarpus fortunei. I'll walk around this way. Still with the tags on, but another Trachycarpus fortunei. This is pretty tight back in here, but I like the full jungle-y look. If you've ever been to a tropical jungle, things are packed in for the most part. So as this grows up, this will provide some extra greenery here, and we'll have a nice wall of green behind the hot tub. I used to have bamboo back here. The box was old and rotted out, and then I tried some other things, some other types of containers. Those did not work well, and so this year I decided to just do something different. I put up the reeds and replaced the bamboo with more palm trees, more bananas. Down here we've got a couple of trays of seedlings. I like to grow these for fun. I give a bunch of them away to folks and neighbors and family and whatnot. And these are actually Sable Cosierums. These are Puerto Rican hat palms. So started from seeds. They've done pretty well. There's a couple of them that have burned out, but these are all growing pretty well back here. So doing well. And then we have the slightly messy, more calla lilies. So the calla lily, if you're not familiar, these are big white cups. So it'll grow a stem, and then on the top of that stem will be a giant, almost like a teacup looking flower when that is flowering. Got to have the drip irrigation. That's a must for all of these plants. Yeah, Richard, the bamboo, it was contained pretty well. I didn't have issues with it, and I've had bamboo in the yard for as long as I moved in here. The challenge I find with bamboo, I don't know, let me come back over here. It's the leaves. And I'm sure part of it is the variety, but like especially this koi bamboo, like if you look at the ground here, like I'm constantly cleaning up leaves. I spend more time cleaning up leaves from the bamboo than I spend dealing with it trying to run or problems with that. So but yeah, I'm at a point where I think less bamboo is better for me, just because it's when I look at what I spend time on maintenance wise in the yard, cleaning up bamboo leaves is one of the biggest time sinks I have. And with the pool there, I mean, they get into the pool constantly fishing out bamboo leaves from the pool. I'm actually probably next spring I'm going to shrink that group down a little bit as well, and just instead of having a giant wall for the whole fence, I'll probably take about half of it out just so I have fewer leaves to clean up. The scabrida is not as bad. I mean, you can see in the ground there's not as many leaves, but still, yeah, of everything to maintain back here, cleaning up banana leaves cleaning up bamboo leaves is where I spend a lot of time. So this is a Mediterranean fan palm, aka European fan palm, Chamaerops humilis. This thing stays outside 99% of the time. This is another plant that around here people generally don't leave them outside. you're hard pressed to even find people trying to grow them. I've had no problems with it, and it's in a pot. Now I do take this inside from time to time. If it's going to be below about 25 Fahrenheit, so -10 C, I will take this inside. But I've had this for 4 years in a pot in the backyard, and it's 98% of the time it's outside. It has about doubled in size this year. Come on, turn, there we go. Sometimes the gimbal doesn't cooperate, but it's doubled in size this year and pushing out lots of new growth. One of the ways to determine this palm when it's small from others is you can see it's got spikes, and they hurt too, so be careful. But yeah, it's got spikes on the fronds there, allows you to tell that is not a Trachycarpus fortunae palm. This pot here, this is all dead. This is bee balm. It's fading out. A lot of plants around here start to develop the mildew at the end of the summer and the start of fall, just because it's cooler and wetter. So it's done. This is a cool plant. If you haven't seen one of these before, look it up. Bee balm. It's also related to oregano, and so you can eat it. It tastes similar to oregano if you eat a leaf. So it's a useful plant, and hummingbirds love it, bees love it. It's got these giant palm flowers when it's in bloom. Okay, next we've got the ridiculous California fan palm. This was at a big box store, and I always like having really weird palms that probably aren't going to make it. So it was $30 and I bought it. So we'll see how it does this winter. I will leave it outside, although I'm going to keep it under one of my covered areas so it doesn't get the rain. And if it gets really cold, then I'll bring it in. But for $30, I like having weird, different stuff that you just don't find around here. I know $30 might be expensive if you're in Southern California, but this is not a palm you can find anywhere with any kind of regularity in Washington, and paying $30 for it is not a big deal. And then right next to it this is another big box special. So this is another reason why I like to look at the big box stores. This is labeled as an Indian hawthorn, which is what this is. This one, and only this one, has a Washingtonia growing out of it. And so when I saw that, it was like, oh, yes, please. This was also on the clearance rack because it's the end of growing season around here. So I paid $7 for the Indian hawthorn, and then I got another little Washingtonia palm for free, basically. So I figured that was a good deal, and that one will go inside for sure because it's pretty small. I got lots of room for that. So, but big box stores, you can find deals sometimes, and because they don't always know what they have, you can find extra good deals if you give those a look. See if we can get the inspector over here. Oh, she stopped. She likes to try and, so we had some geese flying over, and she likes to try and jump and bark at them like she's going to try and catch them, but we missed it. Back to the palms. This is another Pindo palm. So it's in the same pot that the other one is in, just a little bit smaller, a little bit younger. I bought this one last year to add another Pindo palm. So doing well. It's taken, you can see, like, this was a little bit of winter damage. This one also stays outside all year. I haven't taken this one in at all. So this one has seen nighttime lows of 15 degrees Fahrenheit. So what is that? 12, negative 12, negative 15 C, something like that, somewhere in that range. And that's the extent of the damage that it's had. Some growth right there, and then there's a little bit of damage right there as well. But other than that, happy and healthy. Happy and healthy. Over here we've got more Musabastus. This is, if you've seen any of my other videos, this is what I refer to as the experimental patch. This is where I try a lot of things just to see what happens. This started with a corm division, so I took one of my older plants and cut the corm in two, and that was the start of the Musabastus over in this patch. I've transplanted a couple others over here. The video that I did where I cut one to the ground and just watched it grow back, that was actually this plant last year. And then I just started last week. I want to see when the banana plants actually stop growing. And I find the easiest way to do it, because you can see them grow, I just cut it last week. And so this is how much growth I've had in the last week as temperatures have gotten colder and days have gotten shorter. So you can see this thing is still growing. Now I'm going to cut it again this week, because today we've got a high of 82 degrees, I believe. Very unseasonal for October to have temperatures that high, but I will cut it again this week. Next week is supposed to be more typical Seattle weather, rain most of the week in the mid to high 50s. So we'll get a good look next week on how well this plant grows in mid 50s and raining. Coming around, we've got yet another Trachycarpus 429. So these do really well here because they deal with the water so well. So that's why I have a lot of those in the yard, just as kind of like a base, easy, low maintenance palm tree for me. I don't have to do anything to it. I've never protected any of my windmill palms. They're just in the ground, and that's it. I give them water, I give them fertilizer, and that's all that happens. So that will, so for comparison, the bigger one that I showed you earlier, this one that's over here, so that windmill palm 3 years ago was about that size. That's about how big it was when I brought it home. So gives you a sense of growth. If you treat them right, fertilize them, give them water, you can have that kind of growth in your palm trees, at least your windmill palms. Over here, this is just the rest of this area is just my hodgepodge of random flowers and things. We're gonna get some sun that way, so let me come over here. When we moved in, this was just grass, and I personally hate grass. So I took it out and just started planting a bunch of random things. This is key lime pie. This is Kaluna. We've got echinacea. The echinacea's just about done here, but echinacea. So that's edible and often used for herbal medicine. We've got canna lilies in the back. There's also a golden lotus banana, although that seems to not be doing all that well here. This is the second year, so it's pretty small for being 2 years old. We've got another torch lily. This torch lily produces white flowers, so makes for a little bit of a different look. A bunch more palm tree seedlings. Those are windmill palms and pindo palms. But lots of bee feeders and hummingbird feeders over here in this group. I'll probably change this up a little bit next year. I might put some elephant ears over on this side just to see how they do, just get a little bit of additional variety. I need some more broadleaf stuff over here. Coming around, we've got, these are pindo palms in the back there. So there's 5 seedlings. I like pindos. They're different around me. There's not a lot of them, so they're one of the palms that I prefer. This thing is still going. This was kind of a, sure, I'll buy one of those. This is a Chilean fire tree. It's supposed to be really cool once it gets big. It just looks like a little bush right now, but should be a giant red tree thing if I can get it to maturity. It's supposed to be hardy for around here, although it's a very finicky plant. If you give it any kind of fertilizer, it will die, just because its natural environment is like Chilean desert, and it can't do nutrients really at all. I'll show you these other little guys down here. These are the insets that are left from my propagation that I did. So I've got 6 little ones left. I did a corm division of these at the end of last year, and so I've still got 6 of those left. And then this pot here, this is a Puerto Rican plantain. This is new for me this year. I just bought this at the beginning of summer. Come over here, get out of the glare. Puerto Rican plantain. It's doubled in size, although it started to slow down. I can see it's growing a lot slower now that the days are shorter. But also has a pup there and a pup there. So that's good. Always a good sign to see the pups coming out. And then this is a sage bush that is way out of control. So also an herb. I need to do something different with this probably next year. We have this little box here that I made. This is just random stuff. As we've gotten things, some of these are plants that came in bouquets. This is the spot that we just drop them in, put them in the box and see what they do. So there's a lupin in here. There's the sage. There's some hollyhocks, kind of growing sideways here, but those are finishing up. Although there's new ones. These are also hollyhocks. So those will continue to flower. Cool flowers. So yeah, I refer to this as the box of randomness, or the random box of randomness. A couple of plants in the front here. So on the left we have a cabbage palm. This is Florida state tree. I bought this. When did I buy this? I had this over winter in my house. I think I bought it last fall. So I've had it for a year. It's gotten a little bit buried in the sage here. It wasn't super healthy when I got it, but it did push out 2 new fronds this year. The one in the back here and the one in the front. So it's doing okay. Doing okay now. And then next to that, this is a Musa double Mahoy. And I bought this because when it flowers, it flowers with 2 pods. Every other banana flowers with 1 pod. This will push out 2 pods. It is also a dwarf plant, so I do keep it inside in the winter. You can see in this room here on the other side, It's all glass, and that's southwest facing, so it gets good sun in the winter. And that peak in the middle there is like 10 plus feet on the inside. So it's got high ceilings, at least in the center. So I should be able to grow this one to max size and actually get some bananas from it. We've got this pup over here. This was minuscule at the start of this summer. Needs to be trimmed up, but uh, it's grown quite a bit. Then there's another little pup in there that is kicking off. And let's see, let's not forget this palm. I think this is the last one that I haven't covered back here. So this is a pygmy date palm. It needs a little bit of fertilizer, but overall doing pretty good. Starting to get, come on, turn thing. There we go. Yeah, I'll come back to this, Richard. Um, are you around Seattle somewhere? Once I mean, if I can divide that at some point and get all the viable plants, I'd be more than happy to do that if you're local. I want to make sure I get a good one. I'm not ready to try and divide these yet. I'll let them grow quite a bit before I try and divide it. Just I've had too many experiences where I've had a large banana plant that surely has roots, and I go to dig it out and it's got no roots on it. So I would hate to try and pull this thing out and it has no roots. So I'll let you know. I mean, you'll see a video on it at some point. I'll divide it, and we could talk then if they all survive. Okay, back to the pygmy date palm. Then this is three. I've had it for 3 years. It's about doubled in size. I should do an update because I know I have video of it when I first got it. It's a slow grower, but it is still growing, which is good. So, and it's got 3 heads in there, so doing okay. And that's it. That's the backyard. That's everything back in here. I'll go in and show the. Have a few plants that I've kept in the house all summer. We'll go do a quick show of those. See how bad the dog has messed things up. So this is dwarf Cavendish. This is my 3rd year having this. It's done okay, although I would have expected it to be a little bit larger. At this point, it's about 3 feet of plant. But this one I just leave inside because it's behind the couch and it would be a pain in the butt to take it out. I've also got a number of these super dwarf Cavendishes, so much smaller. Couple of pups on that one. Then there's another one over here with a pup. And then I've got another one over here. And that one's got a pup in the back there. And then I have a 4th one over here, also with a little pup. So those are good. All of these other little baby palms here, I just stuck them in here for now. These are actually palms that I got from Banana Joe. So I went up and saw him at the end of last year and spent a little bit of time at his place and just learning stuff from him. And he sent me home with, these are hybrid Fortunae and Waggy palms. some of them doing better than others. And then down on the bottom, there are 4 pure Waggy babies. So, Joe, if you see this, all your palms are still happy and doing well. This was a ginger plant. I took some grocery store ginger and threw it in a pot just to see if it'd grow, and it actually grew. And then next to that, we have, this is a Musa Truly Tiny. So just have one of these. No pups. I've had it for 2 years. This is my second summer with it. It's doing well, but it is truly tiny. It lives up to its name for sure. And then let's see, last thing to show in here. This is a Royal Poinciana, so a very tropical tree. In the US, you can find these in extreme southern Florida. Like you can find them in Miami and south. They don't grow in central Florida because it's too cold. I like these because of my time in Puerto Rico. These trees are all over the island, and when I found that I could buy one, I thought even if it's an annual for me, it'd be pretty cool to have one in the house. And so this is actually the second summer that I've had it. It survived the winter indoors and is very healthy. There's a little bit of yellowing leaves just because I don't always water it enough. This thing is a water hog, and I don't always get it watered as much as it would like to have. But it survived another year, and at some point it will be a problem. This is a 70-foot tree in the wild, or in its natural habitat. So I might try some bonsai techniques to see how long I can keep it alive. But I fully expect at some point it's going to be done. But that's that. So that does it on the inside, and you'll see so I've got good room here to put some taller things and keep them alive. Yeah, Richard, they are different plants. If you look, like the super dwarfs get these really fat trunks, and they kind of grow up a little bit taller and shoot all the leaves out of the top. Like this is not like, I didn't like trim it specifically this way. I mean, I cut leaves when they die and that's about it. So you can see it almost looks more like a tree where it's got a long neck and then all the foliage at the top. And then the truly tiny it's shorter. I mean, this is put on a little bit of thickness, so it's not too much smaller, but it is definitely smaller and just not the same thing. Not the same thing. So, and I got those about the same time. And let me see if I can do this without. I got them at the same time and the same size, so you can see how different they look. Well, let's see. That pretty much does it. That's everything in the back and everything on the inside. So happy to answer any other questions if you got them, or if there's something else that you didn't get a good look at that you wanted to see. Yeah, for sure. I want to do a video. I've got plans to do one on the indoor bananas. So I'll cover the super dwarf, the dwarf, and the truly tiny. I'll probably talk about the double mahoy as well, just because that isn't supposed to get so big. It should be about the same size as the dwarf Cavendish, maybe a little bit bigger. Nice, yeah. Yeah, pups are always a good sign that things are healthy and mature. Yeah, thanks, Richard. Glad you could join. So if you ever have any questions, you can always email or throw it on a video. I'm always happy to share what I know and what I've experienced. Next year, I should be ready for a front tour. The front's still a disaster, but I started working on that this year. So I put in uh, 13 palm trees in the front, mostly Fortunais, but I also put in a needle palm. I put in a pindo palm in the ground, and I put in another Camarops in the ground as well. So still working through a bunch of the mess in the front yard and flower beds and whatnot, but by next year that should be like 80% done. It probably won't be all the way done, but it'll look presentable at least. All right. Well, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and end. Interesting to do this for the first time and just kind of see how it goes. Yeah, that'd be great. Like that's always the goal with all my bananas is I want to get them to fruit, all the different varieties. So um, I've got to be close on either the super dwarf or the dwarf Cavendish has not put out pups yet. I did transplant it into a different pot this year, and that really pissed it off. It lost about 70% of its leaves and kind of almost started over. But yeah, I'd like to get fruit on something else. I mean, I've had Musabastu's fruit for the last 3 years now, each year. But it'd be good to have a banana that's good to eat, especially one that you can't really buy in grocery stores. So I'm with you. Let's continue to compare notes on what's working and what's not. All right. You too. Hey, thanks for tuning in. We will talk to you soon. Take care.